Welcome to Getting Real. I am your host, Monick Halm, and on this show today, we're going to be going beyond the paychecks about understanding the cash flow quadrant and why investors win. This is our second financial literacy month episode. And why are we talking about this? Because if you don't own your time, you don't own your life. Right? So let's get real. Most of us were taught to follow a script. You go to school, you get a job, you work really hard, you hope you have enough to retire one day where you can get that gold watch and play golf, right? But what if that script is broken? Today's episode is about why we need to stop chasing someone else's idea of success and start building wealth on our own terms. And today I'll decode for you how money really works and show you the feminine, intuitive, freedom filled path to wealth. So you don't need to hustle harder. You just need to learn how to earn differently. This is Financial Literacy 2.0 with the soul. So let's talk about the cash flow quadrant. And this was something that is from Robert Kiyosaki's book, The Cash Flow Quadrant. And we're going to decode that. What does that mean? Because you don't need to work harder. You just need to shift quadrants. So let's break down the cash flow quadrant. So imagine a box and that is split into four, right? Each one is a quadrant. On the left side of the box is the top left is an E. E stands for employee, right? If you are an employee, that's how you're getting your cash flow. You have a job. You are trading your time for money, right? You come to work, you show up, and your boss, their company, a business pays you. That's E. That's what most of us are taught to do, to be in that cash flow quadrant. You are likely to pay the most tax being in this cash flow quadrant, and you have the least control because somebody else is just telling you what to do, where to be, when, and then you can get paid. Below that, on the left side, is S, and that stands for self-employed. And when you are self-employed, you are still trading your time for money. You have clients who are paying you. You essentially own the job. So you are the boss. You're also often the bottleneck, right? So a lot of self-employed can be doctors, lawyers, accountants, right? The people you get paid by the hour, get paid for your time. You're still trading your time for money, but now you get to do all the other stuff too, right? So that's when you are self-employed. You've also tend to pay a bunch in taxes. You have some deductions, but you have a job, right? But you're the boss as well. So that's self-employed. On the other side of the box, right, on the right side, top right side is business owner, B. So E and S are on the right. B is business owner. So B, you own a business, you own a system. You have employees. It earns while you rest. So you, for example, let's say you have a business that is a car wash. You own a car wash, right? You can own this car wash and you have employees that will come in and there'll be somebody at the register and other people working to clean the cars, and they're working and they're getting paid, and the profit goes to you. So you can be doing other things, vacationing, right? But your business works without you. You can work in your business and have a job in your business should you choose, but you don't have to. That is what it is to be a business owner, right? There's a system that will work without you. It's like You had the McDonald's or an apartment building that has a property manager and there's maintenance staff and there are people that are working this and working for your business. That happens to be a real estate business. So that's a business owner. That's that quadrant. B, you at this on this side of the box of the you're you're not trading your time for money, right? The money comes in without you. And then there's below that is I, which is an investor. At this point, your money is making you money, right? That's freedom. So B, your business is making you money. The system you've established is making you money. In the I, your money is making you money. Real estate often falls under both B and I. So there's your money is making money and it's also often a business, right? You can invest in different ways where it's more B, less I. But generally, and even you can do real estate in a way that's self-employed. So if you're wholesaling, for example, right, you're kind of trading your time for money. But often real estate ends up being a B or I. So most people are stuck in E or S because it feels safe, because that's what we've been taught to do, but it's really not. I like to think of financial security as a table, and your income streams are the legs of your table, right? So most people are taught to have one leg under our table, which is our job, right? And so what happens if you're unable to work because you get sick or you get fired or you have to take care of a family member, right? If you go, there comes your table crashing down. So you want to have multiple legs under your table, but those legs should mostly not be tied to you trading your time for them, because you could say, hey, I have a job, plus I have these two side hustles where I'm self-employed, right? But what happens if you're not able to work, right? Without you, all of those legs fall. So you want more of the legs that are on the B or I side, and that money is coming in passively without you having to trade your time for money. That is where the real peace and power come in. That is when time becomes your own, right? That is where freedom happens. So income streams equals confidence plus choice. Now, I want to talk about all the different ways in which you can get income. Okay, so I talked about that cash flow quadrant, but there are actually 7 main ways of getting income. And the average millionaire, I've read, has 7 income streams. Now, you could have multiple income streams that are under the I, right? Or you could have you can have more than one business, or you could have a job plus investment income streams, right? So you're not limited, but here I want to talk about the 7 different streams. 1, it's earned income, right? And that's from a job, or being self-employed, right? Trading your time for money. That is called earned income. And that's what most of us know. 2 is profit, and that's from selling something. So you clean out your closet and you go to a consignment store or like a secondhand shop, and you give them your clothes and they give you money back, or let's say you bought something and you fixed it up and you're selling it for more. That's profit. Actually, like getting money on something is less income. Anyway, but profit is basically selling something. You bought it, you're selling it. That's profit income. 3 is interest income. So that's from your savings, or maybe you've made a loan to somebody, right? And you're getting interest income. So your money is sitting in a bank at 3%, right? What you're earning, that's interest income. Or if you've loaned somebody money at 8%, and then they're paying you back plus interest income. That's a passive type of income, and that would fall under I. Uh, Dividends, or like from dividend income, comes from stocks, right? Certain stocks provide dividends, and they'll cash out. So that is a type of investment income. That's another income stream. That's number 4. Number 5 is rental income, right? Real estate. You put in a tenant and they pay rent every month. That is rental income. Capital gains income. So that's when your asset increases in value. So you'll have a home, or you have a property, and over time it gains in value, right? So you bought it for 200 and now it's worth 400, right? So that's capital gain, that it's gained in value. And last but not least is royalty or residual income. That comes from intellectual property. So I've written some books, and I get every month Amazon sends me some money from book sales. Right, from my Invest Like a Goddess book, or the Real Estate Investor Goddess Handbook. Those are the main books that are selling. So as those sell, I get some residual income. I was on a episode of the show Modern Family back in 2009. I still get checks from that one day when I happened to be like a background dancer, and it's always so joyful. It's like I get another random check from this Modern Family episode that I happened to be on that day. That is royalty, residual income. Yeah? That comes from intellectual property. So all of those are different ways in which you can get income. So your goal should be to shift as much from active income, right? Trading your time for money, to passive income. And I've shared a variety of different ways of getting passive income, from the royalties, capital gains, rental income, dividends, interest income. All of those are passive. That move from active to passive, that's what gives you freedom. It moves you from burnout to breathing room. And you want as many of those legs under your table as possible. So let's talk about the goddess shift from wealth with alignment. You don't need more spreadsheets. You need strategy that feels good. So wealth isn't just numbers. It's about being in integrity with who you are. So a goddessly feminine approach means that you are allowing yourself to receive. So being in the feminine is being very receptive. So much of our wealth and what we allow is not about what we do. It's so much about how we think, and how we're allowing ourselves to show up, and we're allowing ourselves to receive. That is a really big part. So goddess approach means to be receptive, to allow in. In a goddess approach, you trust in something larger than yourself, right? And also create relationships of trust. You collaborate. You don't compete, right? There's in this goddess approach is, that there's an infinite abundance, and that we co-elevate, right? We rise by going together. The competition, that's a very masculine approach, right? The feminine is about collaboration. And you build in a way that's sustainable, sacred, and smart. Because real wealth isn't just about what's in the bank. It's about having the freedom to live the life you choose and in a way that feels good. And when you're following this goddess path, feels really good. So I want to share my story about moving through the quadrants because I started out as an E. I'd been taught that you go to school and you get a job. You get the best job you can. And I went to college, then law school, and I became a lawyer. I was working at a law firm. I was an E. I was overworked, overwhelmed, miserable. I've told that story before. I won't go into it, but I was trading my time for money and I was working so many hours that even though I was making six figures, I was not making very much per hour because I was working like a manimal. It's terrible. So I had the joy of getting fired when I was pregnant, and then the market crashed. I ended up going, all right, I'm going to go into business for myself. And I became a solopreneur, self-employed. And I did a couple of things, and I haven't often talked about this, but I became a mediator and I opened up my own mediation law practice, definite S, right? And then I became a coach and I was coaching, also S. I was trading my time for money. Yeah. And I was flipping real estate. So there was a little bit of having a business because I did have people that were working, doing helping us to find the properties. And then we also had people that were working and doing the construction and working for us. So there was we did have employees that were helping us in this business. So it was a little more of a business and totally self-employed. And it wasn't as much trading my time for money, but that was when I got into real estate and I started to have a business, true business, as opposed to being self-employed. And then I started creating some intellectual property, some books, and doing different things like that paid me. And then courses that that are online and people will buy them and there's a certain amount of me showing up, but it's scalable and I don't have to be there all the time. And there's team and most of our real estate, it functions largely without us, right? We have third-party property managers. There is some work for us to do, but it is quite passive and they're definitely businesses. So I got to move from being an overworked E to an overworked S to a much more free business owner and investor. And really the moment that I learned and I started to have this shift and from working for money to having my money working for me, everything changed. And it can for you too. So here's a reality check. You do not have to stay stuck in the quadrant you're in, but you do have to decide to move. Right? So let's pause and get clear. I want you to think about this. What quadrant are you mostly living in today? Where is most of your income coming from? Are you an E, an S, B, or I? And you might have some streams from different places, but where are you living? And where do you want to be in 12 to 24 months? Is that where are you happy where you are, or do you want to be able to shift out of that? And if you do want to shift, what's one thing, just one thing you can do this week to start shifting? And I have something that I want to offer you, where I'm going to be doing this Saturday, April 12th. a workshop, how to generate 12,500 per month in passive real estate income streams in a fun and feminine way. It's a 4-hour workshop. It starts at 8 a.m. Pacific, goes to 12 p.m. It's like a workshop. You'll be doing some work, you'll be doing a little bit of math, going through, and it's only $27. 100% of our proceeds will go to Habitat for Humanity, Rebuild LA initiative. So it's a fundraiser, but it's going to really show you what are the steps. It's like we're going through this 8-step roadmap. What are the steps you need to take to get you into having a nice large amount of passive income as an I and B, your real estate. So, and there are ways where you can do it where you're almost all I. So let's say you're like, I have another job or I have another business. I don't want another hustle. I don't want another business. We'll show you too how you can do it in ways that are very passive. So definitely join us, and I'll put a link in the chat for that. So that is, and you can find it too on our website, reigoddesses.com under events. So, well, that's one thing you can do, and I invite you to do that. But if there's something else, just think about what's that one thing you can do this week to start shifting. We don't want you to wait for the perfect time. We don't want you to play small. Start now. All right, so now it is time for our end of show Trinity, which is a brag, a gratitude, and a desire. So I brag that we just closed on another deal that we were working on that is an industrial project. And I brag that, those work largely without us. So I brag being in the B and the I. I brag building a life where my money works harder than I do. Love that. Okay, and I'm grateful for that, the paradigm shift, the mindset shift that enabled me to change out of that, because I really just had no concept of this growing up. And so I'm really grateful for everyone, the books, the mentors, the people where I've learned this from. And so I'm super grateful for that. And I desire for every woman listening to this to feel like, and to get into that B and I quadrant, those quadrants where you have your table and you have all these legs and it's very stable and you're supported and safe and sovereign, and it feels delicious. And I want you to be able to develop this in a way that feels so good for you, right? That's my desire. So, in conclusion, you can keep doing what you've always done, but you'll keep getting what you've been getting, or you can learn how to earn like an investor, get into that right side of the quadrant. So if you are ready to stop trading your time for money and start building true freedom, here are your next aligned steps. So step 1, get honest about what quadrant you're in. Step 2, choose one move this week that will stretch you toward the B or I side, or will help you create another income stream in the B or I side. And then step 3, join me on April 12th for it's also called the Millionaire Real Estate Investor Workshop, how to generate $12,500 per month in passive real estate income in a fun and feminine way. It's only $27. That goes to charity, and it will change the way you think about income investing, and wealth. All right. So thank you for getting real with me today. Let's stop surviving. Let's start designing our dream lives and let's stay real. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss another episode of Getting Real. Bye bye.